Now point out the emergency exits. There are 2 doors at the front. Devices the flight mode turned off. A reminder that smoking, vaping, and using e-cigarettes is not permitted anywhere on board or throughout the terminal.
Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Lisa and I talk about my life in Brisbane on this channel as well as my travels. I hope you enjoyed the clips that I've just shown of my flight from Brisbane to Melbourne on business class with Virgin Australia. I had an appointment in Melbourne and the appointment was on a Monday, so I decided to fly out the day before on Sunday and spend the night in Melbourne. I chose a flight around 8 a.m, scheduled to arrive in Melbourne around 10:30 a.m. So it would give me some time to get to the hotel and maybe have a look around the city and catch up with a friend. I had a credit with Virgin Australia because I had to cancel my flight to Hamilton, which was meant to be in September this year. And the credits have a 12-month validity period, and I'm expecting to be on a no travel year from about January next year, and so I thought there's not really much opportunity to use that credit, so I decided to use the credit for this flight and treat myself to business class. It's my second time flying Virgin Australia business class and I really enjoyed the previous time, so I thought I'd do it again. It was really a very comfortable journey and everything went really smooth. I arrived early at the airport, which is what I usually do because I'm anxious about being late, and if I do have lounge access, I do like to hang out in the lounge a little bit. So I arrived in the lounge and had breakfast there. It was okay, like nothing spectacular. I've definitely been in lounges with more and better food options, but it was fine. Had a coffee, had some juice. I then chilled out for a little bit, then left the lounge to go to the gate, boarded on the plane. So on this ticket I have priority boarding, and settled in, and it looked like I might not have a seat neighbor, and then my seat neighbor showed up and it was alright because he was rather friendly. He said good morning and then we had a bit of a chat. He was going to Melbourne on business, so we had a bit of a chat about what he was doing there, so that was quite interesting. And then we had breakfast service. I chose quesadillas and a pastry came out for which we had no option. They just gave us the pastry they had available, I guess. And the flight was pretty smooth. On the flight we had the option of watching in-flight entertainment on our mobiles, and I couldn't get it to work, so I just spent my time either dozing off or looking out the window into the beautiful sky. We were expecting rain in Melbourne, and true enough, as we were approaching Melbourne, it was looking a little gloomy. And at the time that we landed, the tarmac looked wet, and yeah, it was a little miserable in Melbourne. And I collected my luggage, so everything went really smoothly. And that's one of the things I really enjoy about flying business class. Yes, you pay through your nose. It's a ridiculous amount of money, but I think now and then when I can afford it, I definitely prefer to fly business, just because the whole experience is just so much more comfortable, so much more efficient, spend less time in queues, get on the plane as a priority, get off the plane. You know, I'm amongst one of the first to get off the plane. And so the experience is really quite enjoyable. But again, it's also very expensive. So in this case, I had a credit and I had no other opportunity to use it. So it was just the opportunity to make use of that credit and have a pretty comfortable journey to Melbourne. I do think that business class fares, I would get more out of it if I flew business class long haul, but at the same time, long haul business class, for example, to Kuala Lumpur or to Singapore, is about $6,000 the last time I checked. So that's a crazy amount of money. I could do so much with $6,000. So it's something that I'm not considering at this time. Plus, I do have a no travel year coming up, but maybe in the future I would be able to travel business class internationally again. I did fly to Tokyo on Qantas business class in 2020, just before COVID lockdown occurred in Australia. So I was very lucky that I got back before the borders closed, and that was a really enjoyable journey as well, but it was also a lot of money. I think now I'd be maybe looking at 10,000 if I was going to travel to Europe. So Europe was my next destination after Tokyo, after Seoul. So I was not able to do Seoul because of COVID, and therefore that's still on my list. So I'm looking forward to being able to get those places ticked off my list at some point, but not within the next 12 months. There's only one international trip in the next 12 months, and that's for family purposes. My next video will be about my hotel stay in Melbourne. I stayed at the VLLO Melbourne, so the VLLO is not a brand that I'd stayed at before, not a hotel brand I stayed at before. So I'm excited to share my experience with you. If you made it this far, please consider subscribing. I'd love to have you here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!